When I moved to the US last year, I thought I had a pretty good handle on what it would cost me. I budgeted for rent, furniture, even the random admin stuff like setting up utilities. But what I didn't expect were all the hidden costs. They're not the things that you can Google before you move. They're the little lifestyle shifts that sneak up on you. So in this video, I want to share some of the hidden costs I've noticed since moving to the US. The ones I wish I planned for because they've added up to more than I thought. Number one is the increased going out costs. Don't get me wrong, I went out and I enjoyed my life when I lived in Toronto, but there's increased costs with moving to a new city because of things like making new friends, having two friend groups, and having to host a little bit more. So by making new friends, I mean often you don't want new friends to come over to your house to just hang out, which is what a lot of people do to keep costs down when they have friends. You have to go meet these people in public places. And thankfully, San Francisco is a place where a lot of people think a walk is a great way to meet people, but often you have to go buy a coffee. And a coffee is $7.50. And if I'm trying to meet new people and make new friends, I'm getting a lot of coffees, going for a lot of drinks, and going to a lot of dinners every week. So it added up to more than what I wanted to budget and what I was usually budgeting for in terms of social spend when I lived in Toronto. In terms of double friend groups, you have your friends at home. Those people aren't going to leave your life. And then you also start to make new friends in the place that you now live. So that means more birthdays and more events. I'm still sending presents to my friends that are back home, even if it's just flowers or cake or cookies or something small for their birthday, but I have to DoorDash it to them. So no matter if it's $50, because I have to send it to them, I have service fees, delivery fees, and a tip. So every time I send a friend a gift, it's about $100. And then I also have friends here, which means more birthday dinners, more gifts. So it really just adds up having two friend groups. It is a total blessing to have friends in both places, but it definitely is not a cost I anticipated when I moved. And the last thing is hosting people. As you want to continue making friends, you want to be nice and you want to share the costs. So starting to buy food and drinks to build connections. When you go out to the bar, you want to buy a round of drinks for your friends. You're going to do that more often when you're trying to make friends than when you already have friends, because when you have friends, it's like, you buy your own drink. The next unanticipated cost I found has been style changes. And some of this is definitely just because I'm a girl and I want to fit into the California style, but some of it is also very valid because of weather appropriate clothing. In Canada, in Toronto specifically, you really jump from season to season. It goes pretty much from winter to summer within a couple weeks. In San Francisco, every single week feels like the shoulder season in Canada, meaning I really always just need a light jacket and some smaller shoes or boots in order to get through every single season. Obviously, I did have a few smaller jackets, but not enough that I was satisfied with my wardrobe for having it 52 weeks out of the year rather than 2 or 3. Also, as I mentioned, general fashion norms are a little bit different in California than they were in Toronto. I felt a little bit of pressure to fit in, and I've definitely adjusted my wardrobe to be slightly more Californian and less Toronto. The next thing that I didn't account for was easy travel. Now, this is something that you don't technically have to budget for. It's not mandatory at all, but it feels like it's something that you should do. Moving across a continent and knowing that I may not live on the West Coast forever and I could go home at any time, I want to try and experience as many different places and attractions as possible when I'm close by to them. So taking easy trips to me like Hawaii, Las Vegas, LA are things that I want to do when I'm living in San Francisco. I still want to do my big trip every year where I go and travel to a new place, but I also want to do the short trip. Doing things like that as well as weekend getaways to national parks, nearby road trips also add up. And thankfully, I get the opportunity to do these things, but it's more than I budgeted for. The next hidden cost is the cultural cost. A lot of people think that Canadian and American culture is not that different. And I would argue, compared to other countries, it really isn't that different. But there are some small differences and they tend to add up. Things like sports. Sports are way bigger in the US than they are in Canada, and I want to make sure that I have the opportunity to experience them. So I'm paying for things like NFL games, NBA games, baseball games, just to go experience the culture because Americans do sporting events very, very well. And it's been something that's been really fun and really rewarding to go experience. The other thing is the outdoor culture here in California. This is very centric to San Francisco and California, but people spend a lot of time outside. And that's not as typical in Toronto, where we're usually in winter for a lot of the year. So spending a little bit of money to do things like try surfing and afford surfing lessons, as well as go skiing, hiking, having additional hiking gear because I'm taking on more strenuous hiking now. Those are costs that I didn't anticipate, but are really important to me to have the experience of living in California, being on the West Coast, and trying new things. The last cultural cost that kind of snuck up on me was local traditions. Things like going to a rodeo, doing a tailgate, going to concerts. These are things that definitely existed in Canada, but it really wasn't the local tradition for me to do it. The next hidden cost cost of moving is the tourist in your own city cost. So, moving to a new city, you want to know the city. You want to experience all that it has to offer. Moving to San Francisco, I obviously wanted to try things and see things. For example, I felt like I had to go to Alcatraz, so I spent the money to go do that. I also want to try the food scene. I want to make sure that I'm experiencing, again, everything that the city has to offer me. The last hidden cost of moving to a new place is going home is now seen as a vacation. So, living in San Francisco, I have to fly when I want to go see my friends and family. The average flight from San Francisco to Toronto costs around 550 US dollars. So, every time I want to go home, hug my mom, I have to pay at least $550. I also sometimes have to take time off work to make sure that I can see everybody when I go home. You also want to treat your people. So, I bring them gifts, I cover outings, I pay for meals when I visit. When I lived there, that wasn't something I would do. Every time I go home, I end up spending about $1,000 more than I would being just in San Francisco having a regular time. And it's well worth every dollar, but it's a hidden cost. So, those are all the hidden costs that I found after spending a year living in a country that I didn't grow up in. And none of the things I mentioned are exactly mandatory, but I wanted to do those things. And I'm really glad that I have the opportunity to. I just wish I knew a little bit in advance so that I could budget a little bit more when I moved. Thanks for watching.